And welcome back to GMA and those razor-thin margins in critical states and the focus on how those ballots are being tallied. ABC News Chief Legal Analyst Dan Abrams joins us with more. Dan, it's great to have you with us on a Saturday morning. Walk us through it here. In a series of suits filed in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, and Nevada, the Trump team filed a range of complaints relating to this election and the results. What's the strategy here, and are any of these challenges likely to be successful?
Well, it seems thus far there hasn't been a unified strategy, and that's the challenge that they have here, is that they're behind by enough in most of these states that it makes you ask, what's the end game here? Because the only way this is going to have an impact is if they're literally able to change the numbers. So, for example, some of the arguments about poll watchers not being able to get close enough, those aren't going to change numbers. That's a procedural argument. The remedy there is allow the poll watchers to move forward, get closer. The arguments thus far with regard to ballot counting and actual ballots have not been successful. So they really need to figure out, can they figure out a message, one particular theme where they can say either count the votes or don't count the votes. And I think that's going to be very difficult because what you're doing there in Arizona is connected to what I'm doing here when it comes to these issues. Politics meets the law. They have to figure out a way when they're this far behind, and it's not easy.
Yeah, and the question is, can they even move enough ballots to change a result? I want to ask you something else, though. President Trump said in the past that he wants the U.S. Supreme Court to get involved, like in 2000. Of course, he now has a new justice. What's the likelihood of that happening?
Well, because of what we were just discussing, it's not likely that the Supreme Court is going to determine the outcome here. You need a case. You need a legal argument. You need something that works its way up through the courts. You know, the most likely issue would have been this question in Pennsylvania about whether to count these ballots that come in after Election Day in that 3-day period. The problem is those ballots are likely not to make the difference. And so that's not going to be the case that's going to make or break this election. So the president's going to have to figure something out, but he's not going to be able to just hope the Supreme Court steps in and changes the election results.
We'll be watching all of this very closely. Dan Abrams, always appreciate it. Have a good rest of your weekend. We'll talk soon.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.